I'm delighted to be here today. Anyway, let me go ahead and get started here. I'm going to open with something that I think every senior in here is probably aware of. But I'm going to open with a quote from the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies. The U.S. population 5 and over soared by 34% in the last decade, from 43 million to 8 million in 2022. And in the coming decade, the fastest growth will occur among those over 80, when people are more likely to need accessible housing and as well as services and supports at home. The U.S., however, is not ready to provide housing and care for this surging population. And this is what Boomers Collaborative is all about, trying to address this problem. Next slide. In Austin, got some more data points here. In Austin, 9.5% of us are over the age of 65. In Texas, that number is 13.4%, and these numbers are only growing. And if the only choice for most of us is to age in place, how is society to care for us if 84% of us, 80 and older, can never afford supportive care? And 1 in 5 of us are at risk of becoming an elder orphan. And for those of you that do not know, an elder orphan is a single person over the age of 65 with no supportive family to count on. And then alarmingly, seniors are also the fastest growing segment of the population falling into homelessness. And in Crestview and Brentwood neighborhoods, an average of approximately 27% of us are 50 and older. And I cite that neighborhood for a reason, and hopefully you'll understand here in a few minutes. We skipped that slide, so now it's time. Yeah, okay, you're on it. We think at Boomers Collaborative that it's time for a new out-of-the-box idea for 21st century retirement. We think we need a paradigm shift for much more affordable and sustainable retirement, referring back to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies report. Very few seniors can afford any supportive care, so our existing systems are going to fall apart. We think solutions are needed. And so what we've begun to ask is, what if seniors can instead, and much like what this Capital City Village is all about, come together to live, age, and place in vital, intergenerational, and walkable urban village settings, own, operate, and manage a shared facility with the support and supervision of a sympathetic foundation and like-minded sponsors, and also find economic opportunity, socialize, and serve each other on site or nearby. And this then leads us to the Boomers Collaborative mission statement. Took us a few years to get this refined, but we now have it refined through the sharing of facilities, equipment, risk, meals, and supplies, retirement becomes more affordable and sustainable. We develop mixed-use facilities in vital urban village settings and include entrepreneurial supports so our member beneficiaries can cooperatively share resources, responsibilities, live, create, and thrive. And then the next slide is the model. So this graphic is from Austin Transit Partnerships, their Project Connect. I don't know how many of you here are familiar with the new equitable transit-oriented developments category that the city has now added to their planning designations. Nobody here has heard of this. Okay, this is
By that name,
not by that name. Okay, well, they did. Okay, Crestview. My understanding is that the Crestview area at the Crestview Transit Station that's already developed, that's the Midtown Commons area and where Black Star Co-op is. All of that is developed under a transit-oriented development, but there's now this new federal designation, equitable transit-oriented developments, that are supposed to be, instead of displacing people and gentrifying neighborhoods, you're making room for everybody, people that need the transit, people without cars, and so making this an equitable area. and federal dollars come with those designations. So all of that's part of the Project Connect.
Where's the Crestview station?
At Lamar and Airport, North Lamar and Airport.
Over the old Holland Mall. Across from Holland Mall.
No,
It's at Airport where Airport
Yeah.
bumps into,
Where
it's at
Wells
Midtown
Fargo.
Commons. And it's not Highland Mall. That's a little, gosh, is it
Farther
east?
south.
A little south and east, I guess,
It's
is,
near St. John's.
yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah.
That's where it is. So anyway, that's, and I'll show, it's on a map here in a few minutes. I've got a map. Anyway, so this is a rendering from their, from Austin Transit Partnership. With their permission, I might add. But we did that because as soon as, well, back up a minute. We already knew that we needed these kinds of areas, these, what I call the vital urban village setting, right? Okay, well, that's what these ETODs are all about, you know. So we completely align with this designation. So we have since now identified 3 places where we want to be, and they're all in these new ETODs. Anyway, so that's why that rendering. So the model then is, we plan to respond with all of the following: affordable, limited equity, cooperative housing, including a public-facing coffee shop bistro. We want a collaboration space for ongoing economic opportunity in the form of a makerspace, retail gallery, and bakerspace. And again, once again, locate in the vital urban village setting to be near public transportation and easy access to goods and services. And all of this taken together then helps us address the need for social engagement. Yes, ma'am.
What is a maker's place?
A makerspace, that's where you have artisans and artists can come together and make use of professional equipment, machines and that kind of thing in a space, and they can take all kinds. I mean, they can be very, you know, with 3D printers and you know, lots of equipment, laser cutters and all those things, or they can be more modest, just on, you know, maybe a studio scale, but they can take a lot of forms. And I will say and I will put this is later on here in the presentation, but we do have an agreement in theory to cooperate with the Austin Creative Alliance in that space and the retail gallery. So anyway, so that takes care of the model. That's the model. And so next slide. Yeah. So why a housing co-op? We could have done this one of 2 ways. We could have done it as condominium, organized, set up the organization, the housing as condominiums, or go with the housing co-op. And we decided to go with the housing co-op primarily because they're egalitarian, 1 member, 1 vote, and democracy and engagement are embedded in all of their management and operations processes. We can achieve deeper affordability because costs are shared. There is only 1 closing instead of many. Member beneficiaries can also benefit from occupancy status as a tenant because all maintenance and repair expenses are the responsibility of the cooperative. And we can reach and serve more people through joint tenancy in some of our 2-bedroom and larger units. And we think this is really ideal, especially for older single adults. You know, you don't have to worry about your maintenance. So you've got the best of both worlds, the best of apartment living and the best of home ownership. And so why the limited equity co-op will be the next slide. And that's so that Vigorous Collaborative can conserve housing affordability for the long run. And so that our beneficiaries can still build some equity, hold on to equity, albeit limited. It'll be done under a formula in the proprietary lease agreement or the share purchase. I can't remember if it's the share purchase agreement, but anyway, one of the agreements. And then take advantage of typical home ownership benefits, including homestead exemptions. So we just think this is a, you know, really great model to try to bring to Central Texas. It's not here right now, but we want to bring it here. However, we are prepared if we can't do it as a co-op, if we just keep running into too many roadblocks, we can still do it as a condominium. It just won't be as affordable. And so on the next slide, you can see the differences between the co-op and the condo. And you can see where we weighted in the bold type, the co-op over the condo. Because they're typically cheaper and generally they're more stable because it's very rare to find a co-op where they're not all owner occupied units. Whereas in a condominium, you're likely to find a mix of owner occupants and those that are investor owned and leasing out to renters. So anyway, however, in a co-op, ownership comes through shares in the corporation, whereas condo, it's still real property that you're investing in. In a co-op, a unit is conveyed under a proprietary lease. In a condo, it's conveyed by a deed. And once again, I talked about the unit mix. Okay, so next slide, boomers milestones. Oh, you're already there. Okay. Now I'll tell you about our progress. We've made steady progress from concept paper in 2013, which I distributed at a Livable City Summit, through most recently being accepted by Penrose LLC into the redevelopment plans or their redevelopment plans for Ryan Drive. We made an initial run for a small presence in the Grove at Shoal Creek, engaging with city council members and staff to develop our model in 2014 through 2016. We formed our 501c3 in 2016. We continued honing our message for the city's then pending RFP for Ryan Drive. And that was in years 2016 through 2018. And that was with 3423 Holdings was the developer that had won the.
Where's Ryan Drive?
Ryan Drive is right there at that Crestview station. And you'll see that again here in a minute on the map. During this time, we presented twice to the city's Commission on Seniors, and they passed a resolution in support of our model during our time participating in the Impact Hub's Local Affordability Accelerator in 2018. We worked with a mission-aligned development team, and that's a developer, architect, and general contractor, such that we had a viable project for the proposed Crestview Village in 2020. And Crestview Village was the 3423 Holdings. That was what they named their site. Then the pandemic hit and we hunkered down with the rest of the world in 2020 and 2021. But we rallied in 2022 and participated in the AARP sponsored Start.coop Fall 2022 incubator. It was a 59+ incubator. They were doing co-ops, supporting people that wanted to form co-ops that served people 59 and older. So then the following spring, we participated in the AARP sponsored Start.coop Spring 2023 accelerator. And that came with a week-long stay as guests of AARP in Washington, D.C. All of our meetings were held in their offices. So that was an exciting time. And it came with a $10,000 grant. So that was our first grant funding. We got that last year. And then last fall, I completed the local small developer training program hosted by the City of Austin, Capital Impact Partners, and Housing Works Austin. And this year, we joined the Austin Housing Coalition and procured an agreement in theory with the Austin Creative Alliance. So, however, as of today, because Penrose LLC lost to DMA Properties in the city's recent RFQ for Ryan Drive, we are still in need of a site. And so I don't know how many of you guys know. I mean, so Ryan Drive, we've really concentrated on that area ever since the Grove at Shoal Creek became unaffordable for us. We've really just honed in on this Crestview Station area. And so there was first an RFP for that site. That was the request for proposals. And, you know, that the city they dissolved that last summer. They couldn't come to an agreement with the developer. And so that all fell apart. And the city has since changed their approach, and they're no longer doing requests for proposals for these developments. They're doing a request for qualifications. And our understanding now is, although we don't know it in fact, but our understanding is that they intend to have a lot more community input in what's going to go into these developments once they pick a developer that they want to work with. So we're not out of the running yet, we don't think, but we don't know it for sure. And we're still working to try to figure that out. Anyway, so that takes care of that timeline. Next slide, possible sites. Okay, our plans are to have 3 locations in Austin. We want one in North Austin, we want one in East Austin, and we want one in South Austin. We want all of these to be on the new rail line in these equitable transit-oriented development spaces. So I've got, but you'll see there are 4 up there. So if we can't get, if Ryan Drive just is someplace we can't locate, the city just says, nope, nope, nope. Then we're going to look at North Lamar as our north location. So, and then I give kind of a timeline on that. Ryan Drive would be our first if Ryan Drive is possible. If it's not possible, our first would be Grove Boulevard, because it's actually in the first phase development plans for Project Connect. So light rail would actually be there before it'll be at Ryan Drive.
Where's Grove Boulevard?
It's East Austin. It's on East Riverside. It's okay.
Okay.
So next slide. And so I only show 2 maps here. I don't have any maps for the Cap Metro sites, but we do have information on the 2 sites that the city owns. So Ryan Drive is the first one, and so that there are actually 3 tracks, but 2 of the tracks are still privately owned, and that's by one, and they're owned by one is, at least my understanding is they're still owned by one of the partners, 23423 Holdings. So I don't know, that may still be a possibility if Ryan Drive just, the city's tract doesn't turn out to work out. But anyway, those are the available tracks at the Crestview Station. And the next slide is the available tracks at Grove Boulevard. The city has just purchased those 2 tracks. And we assume that now that they've done this process through Ryan Drive, it will be a similar process for those 2 tracks. Okay, and then on to outreach to the mayor. Next slide. In the past 3 weeks, we've also reached out to the mayor's office. I met him at a housing summit recently and let him know that I needed to talk to him. And he said, okay, call our office. So we were able to meet with 2 of his aides. I've been trying to do this for a long time with him, so this was a big deal. Anyway, so we met with 2 of his aides. They liked us very much. And so they asked us to come back with a firm ask. So our firm ask is we request the Austin City Council pass a resolution to include Boomers Collaborative in the redevelopment plans for Ryan Drive, and similarly, the redevelopment plans for tract 1 of the site now on Grove Boulevard. So we'll see. They said we should hear back from them in 2 weeks. So maybe sometime by the end of next week or the following week, we might hear something. Yes, sir.
I think I got lost somewhere along the line. Now, these tracks you were talking about, is this affordable housing for the seniors that you talked about earlier? Is that?
That's where we want to locate part of our, we would only be a piece of those things. That wouldn't be everything that would be in the tract, but we want to have a placement in these areas.
So it might be like one building, a co-op for seniors?
Right, or it may be a piece of a building. It may not be an entire building unto ourselves. We don't know yet what that will eventually look like. Our original plans were to have our own building, but we don't know now that the city has got these ideas exactly how we fit in. But just so long as we get some designated units for ourselves and these spaces is all we really care about.
And these developers that get these extra money because they say they're going to have affordable rents, it's affordable housing or part of their development. I mean.
The equitable transit oriented development overlay, planning overlay is supposed to all be for, it's supposed to be for affordable housing. I don't know the mix that they're going to allow, what percentages they're calling for, but the overlay, that equitable transit oriented development is supposed to be targeting affordable housing into these areas in mixed use development projects.
Because a lot of times, there's an agreement to get the financing before they even begin to build. That
Yeah,
X amount of apartments are supposed to be for affordable housing. And
Right.
somehow that gets lost in the mix. By the
Yeah,
time
it
it
has,
gets to
that has to be all decided before there's ever any development. And so, yeah, that's part of what has to be
Yeah.
all that negotiated. And I don't, and I'm not party, I do have a housing background. But it's been eons ago. And so, but I did, I thought that I had the energy to go out and develop this on my own, but as soon as I took that small developer training program last fall, I went, my age and as complex as it is here in Austin, I'm not doing this on my own. So I want to do it with partners, but all of those are those are the details that are just way too early for right here. But yes, all of that has to be planned out, but the intent is for all of this housing, I say all of it. I just got conflicting information yesterday. My understanding had been that all of it needed to be affordable housing in these areas, but information that I got yesterday, I'm not sure. They may allow, depending upon, you have to understand, how these pro formas are going to, what they call pencil, how they're going to pencil.
Okay.
And if it's going to take some, 10% market rate, 20%, some of these projects may not work unless they do bring some market rate in, but I don't know what the city intends yet. But yes, sir.
Did you finish? What?
Yeah, I think
One, I need to congratulate you on your persistence. I'm impressed. But
I need this for me, so.
Yeah, well.
Okay, go ahead.
Seriously, just like the term middle class is so poorly defined, when you say affordable housing, is it based on some federal standards or whatever the local market? Give me a hint as to
Okay.
what we're talking about.
Okay, I don't
need detail. But
Yeah, their chart, it's published every year. HUD publishes the rates. It's determined by HUD, but it's calculated down to the census tract. And so the area median income, what was it? What is it for 80% of the area median income now is 100 and I don't know what, 20-something, 20-30, I don't know what it is now for income here in Austin. And that is just, just so far above what it used to be. You thought of this as low to moderate income, but now, they say missing middle housing. There's no more missing middle housing. That's a term that planners like to use. And that's right now, we think of that as people earning between 60 and 80% of the area median income. Okay. And so that would be, most what you would think of as what we used to think of as middle class. Okay. So, and we're trying to, I envision a model because, and I don't know, I still have, this is still not firmly teased out. I've got, we do have a local expert here now in Austin. She came to Texas and under a fellowship was hired by Austin Transit Partnership in the city of Austin to help launch Project Connect. And her background is mortgage lending to limited equity co-ops. And so, she actually looked me up because she didn't understand why were there no limited equity co-ops here in Texas. And so people in the co-op world said you need to talk to Carol Lilly. So we found each other, and because she's now the executive director at a local at Texas Community Capital Finance Institution. And she has a number of hours that she has to donate, and she's going to donate 5 hours of technical assistance to us to help us tease all of that out. So I envision it, or I'd like to see it on a sliding scale, whereby we can bring in seniors that have more equity to put into a housing share, and then help those that can't put as much money in, because that housing share, all the housing share does is entitle you to the lease, okay? The lease of an apartment. And so that way we can help balance out those that have more, can help underwrite those that have less. That's my vision for it. I don't know if, how much of that I'll be able to follow through on, but that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I guess I'm having a little trouble with the big picture. Say you have a building with 80 units, and they say 40 units are for this entity that you want. How does that look for those 40 people? And you have to buy into it. And
Okay.
what services are you getting? How is that benefiting those 40 seniors?
Because you'll be located in the equitable transit-oriented development, and we'll have all of this. You'll have transportation nearby. You'll have access to economic opportunity that you might not have if you stay in your house away from other people. You will have a cooperative structure that embeds participation into its processes, so you will be socially engaged in a community, and you will have other seniors there that will be living with you and helping you with your day-to-day, whatever you need. Let me clarify that. Because this is a senior co-op, if this were a co-op amongst youngsters, they would be required to do, put in some, I can't remember the term that they use, but there's a specific term for duties that, you have towards maintenance and management of the property. As a bunch of seniors, I foresee us wanting to contract many of those services, okay? But those would also be opportunities for jobs for some seniors that might want to participate and have that kind of experience. So I just see this as a way to help keep, people like me, and I didn't include this slide about me. I designed this because I was looking for this model for me after my elderly mother passed away. And I was left entirely alone after losing a whole bunch of money in the 2008-2009 debacle. And realizing how was I going to survive, and as it's turned out, my financial advisor at the time told me, he says, you can make it seven years. I made it 8, and so now I've outlived my savings. And so this is a model that's supposed to prevent that by, instead of forcing us into the only models we have out there are for those with extreme poverty, extreme need, are the very wealthy. We don't have anything in between. Everybody else has to isolate and retire, age in place and have services brought to them. We just think it's a better idea to congregate together, watch out for each other, collaborate to go out and get services for what our community needs, not necessarily what some other outsider wants to provide for us, but what we decide we need, and bring those services in at shared cost, leaving out the middleman. We just think this is a smarter way to think about retirement. And we think it's also smart because I can no longer see. I don't drive, and I no longer have a car. I want, but we just can't be that active when we have to depend upon Lyft or other people to take us places. So if we locate along a rail line. We can get out and about to run errands more easily. If we live in a concentrated mixed-use development, those goods and services are on site, they're, within walking distance for us. We just think this is a smarter way to think about return.
So I just couldn't get the picture, but I have more of a picture.
Yeah, right. And originally, yes, we'd love to have our own building, and I'd still like to see that if at all possible, but it may not be possible. We may have to be part of somebody else's building, but just so long as we can have all that space within walking distance is all that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else there on that one? Let's see. What's the next slide? Oh, you can help. The all important slide, you can help. Yeah. Let our city council people know that society isn't prepared to care for us, Anyway, and ask them to help us by create our collaborative space so that we can share scarcer and scarcer resources, and ask them to approve these sites, our inclusion in these sites there at Grove Boulevard and Ryan Drive, as we've requested. That would be huge. And then we get to go start this all over again with Cap Metro. However, we're already in conversations with the planners at Cap Metro, and they like us. They like how we look. So yes, ma'am.
Do you have an email that we can forward to people so
Sure,
they don't have to
absolutely.
reinvent
And I
the wheel?
can't remember, is it on the first, it may only be the website, but I'm Carol@memberscollaborative.org.
Okay, but I mean, like, if we're going to send something to the city council, do you already have that written out so that we can just plug in our
I can
details
do
and
that.
send it
I can
on?
do that. I would love to do that. So, yeah. I would love to do that. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I'm looking at, no, it's just our website is on the opening page. But I'm Carol@memberscollaborative.org. And the rest of it is questions. And then I do have the last page is who our board is right now. We interview attorneys again this Friday. So we had a wonderful man as our attorney for the longest time, but he passed away last summer. So we lost him. Anyway. Yes, sir.
Now, apparently from what I read earlier, you had a deal struck with this Penrose outfit. That they were gonna give a lot, a certain number of units to your collaborative. Have you had any luck with the DAC people?
DMA. Yeah. Yeah, I saw her in council chambers on the 2nd. And I've tried over the years many times to get her to talk to us. Anyway,
Who is it?
she when I saw her in council chambers, I did approach her and say, I have an email out to you and I haven't heard from you yet. And she said, she gave me an excuse, and then she turned back around and she said, Carol, I'm sorry, we're not interested. So, but that doesn't mean, if the Ryan Drive, there's a working group, but we're not allowed to talk to anybody, so I don't know anything. Oh, it's just so frustrating, but yeah, there's this thing called the anti-lobbying ordinance. We have signed nothing, we have applied for nothing, but yet apparently they see us as having an interest in this, and they say they're forbidden to talk to us. So I know, it's frustrating. We're seniors. You need to talk to us. Anyway, I'm doing the best I can. I do have a meeting tomorrow with the executive director at Housing Works Austin, trying to get some advice for, if she can help me with conversations with people. I don't know. I'll see what I learned tomorrow. Any other questions? Yes,
I
sir.
just want to say, I just think you're doing a great job, and you're very brave to jump into this pool of developers.
Easy, you're
cities,
brave.
Politicians, and I wish you great luck, because I think we need something for seniors that don't have families, that they can count on, and they are alone, and, we really need to, you know, take care of them.
Thank
Somebody
you.
needs to take care of them.
Well, I mean, 1 in 5 of us will face that, you know, so if we don't already, and I'm already there, so, yes, ma'am.
Is there any ballpark of, I guess it's way too early to figure this out, of what it might cost to buy into something, because when you're talking low income, to buy a place is daunting.
Well, yeah, and that's, yeah. And over the years, I've had cost structures in the past, but there's just no, I mean, all of that's just completely blown out of the water. And I've given up trying until I can get another site here. And I mean, so I just can't give you any ballpark other than to say it's supposed to be affordable, and we're working to find out all, you know, the way, okay, let me tell you how I did go about this. And I learned this from my, one of my past jobs that I had with the city of Houston. I worked as a planner and a housing program coordinator. When I have a BA in home building, residential design. And so I designed houses for a number of years, and then I went out and started, the builder that I was drawing houses for hired me to go out and do customer service for him. I did that for 2 or 3 months, and then they gave me houses to build. So I was a residential construction manager for about 5 years, and then went to work for the city of Houston back in the 80s, back when the economy, you know, did its weird thing back then. And did housing program development, and implemented an urban homesteading program there. And why am I saying that? I'm telling you about planning background for a reason. I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought here. What did you ask me? You asked me.
If there was any kind of ballpark.
Ballpark, okay. Well, anyways, well, we intend to have programs to bring people in at a variety, you know, however we can. We want to, and we're talking about the friend of mine that is with Texas Community Capital. She has formed a new coalition, and she's asked me to join, and I sit on one of the housing committee. And we're talking about programs to help, you know, with this affordability bit. Oh, I know why I brought up the city plan. Anyway, I learned there, my boss said, you don't go out and ask for bids. You go out and you tell a contractor, this is how much money you have, and tell him to come back and give how much house can you get. So that's the way I approached the architect and the general contractor that we're working with. I said, this is what seniors have. The seniors that are coming to me at the time are coming to me with, I have a lump sum of $139,000. I have a lump sum of $170,000. I have a lump sum of $89,000, whatever they were. So I was saying this, we're looking at something between $100,000 and $200,000. So it took us 3 tries to come up with a pro forma that would work. And we finally came up with one. But once again, now that's just no longer possible. We don't know what that's going to look like. But so with whatever, you know, we do have surveys up on our website, and we're asking for information, as much information as we can get, so we can understand how much money seniors are going to come with. Then we can go back to the architect and the general contractor again and say, this is what we have. How much can you give us for this amount of money? And so, anyway, I knew there was a point to my brought that up, but anyway.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being interested in what we're trying to do here. And anyway, appreciate it very much.
You know.